Alright, so this is the book illustrated by me, Brennan of Romania, and it is the periodic table of elements. Alright, so this is broken up into 5 different chapters. We have first chapter 1, which is the introduction to the periodic table of elements. Chapter 2, which are non-metals. 3, metals. 4, gases. And chapter 5 is lanthanides and actinides. All right, chapter 1, we have the introduction of the periodic table of elements. The periodic table that displays chemical elements, the periodic table is a table, it displays all the elements, and it is broken down into different parts. As we can see, is being broken down into different parts. All right, here. The letter in the boxes of each of the elements of the periodic table represents the name of the certain element. So here we have an example of iodine, silicon, and hydrogen. The number in the box shown above of each symbol is not only the atomic number, but the atomic number also represents the number of protons inside of each element. And the periodic table is set to easily understand for all audiences who's trying to read off of the periodic table of elements. And it is arranged in families that belong to each other and of similar chemical properties in each vertical column row. And each color here represents different types of chemical properties. So here we have transition metals, we have hydrogen here, we have all the normal gases and non-metals and stuff like that. All right, chapter 2. This section is filled with many different types of metals, and what happens to be some of the most famous metals we know, such as gold and silver, happen to fall into this category. And the thing is about silver is that it's actually the most productive element for conductivity of electricity. And there are some characteristics of these metals that they are malleable, they can conduct heat and electricity, and they have a great ductility, which means you can make them into wire. So here we can see that we have an example of wires that you can make out of metal. And we also have our silver and gold in this chest here. And metals do make up most of the periodic table of elements as well. And another thing we can do with the metals is that we can make alloys. And alloys are kind of metals that consist of 2 or more metals that make up themselves. And some of the most important alloys we have are aluminum and steel alloys. So we have some steel bolts and aluminum. We also have 4 different types of metals. We have alkaline earth metals, alkali metals, we have transition metals, and we have rare earth metals. And some facts about the alkali metals and alkaline earth metals is that alkaline earth metals are very active, and they form ions with a 1 positive charge, and alkaline earth metals here form ions with a 2 positive charge. And as you can see, we can have some alkali metals here and alkaline earth metals right here. In chapter 3, we have some non-metals. Now, non-metal elements are important because they conduct electricity as well, just as metals, but fluorine is the strongest oxidizing of the non-metals. And here we have some examples where fluorine is actually used in everyday items such as toothpaste and tea bags right here. Now we have chapter 4 about gases. The periodic table consists of many gases, some of which we breathe in our everyday lives, and this consists of oxygen, carbon and nitrogen composition in the air. So here we have a hot air balloon where right here we have CO2, carbon dioxide, and more oxygen in the air, which we breathe right here, as you can see the little people inside the basket. And the most famous of the gases are, as we know, and call them the noble gases, and there happen to be 6 of them. And these gases consist of helium, argon, neon, krypton, xenon, and radon. All of these gases have outer electron shells, and they all conduct electricity, and they're fluorescent and odorless and colorless. So here we have some helium blown up some balloons for a little party, and we got a net holding them up top. One of the noble gases. And last chapter we have, chapter 5, lanthanides and actinides. So on this first page we have lanthanides, which we have all the lanthanide elements right here. And right here it says lanthanides are a series of 15 metallic, as we can see, kind of metallic look right there, chemicals. These are often known as rare earth metals, and they are reactive, they're soft, and they tarnish when they are exposed to air. Now, the all of the actinide elements are very radioactive, which means they are very dangerous, and they are actually not natural elements. But these elements spontaneously ignite or almost combust when they are exposed to air, making them also very, again, dangerous. And they are very dense and highly electropositive. But there are two of these elements that can be found naturally, and these are uranium and thorium, which they're very hard to find as well, but these are the only two naturally occurring, but they're still dangerous. And that would end chapter 5, and we do have our summary here. So we have, in this book, we cover the topics of the periodic table. We include all types of metals, non-metals, gases, and even the rarest metals. As the reader, you go through what alloys and the most sufficient metals for conductivity, and we learn new terms such as alloys and the term pyrophoric, and lanthanides and actinides as well. Together, reading this book, we learn together the topics and amazing features of the periodic table of elements.